What's going on, everyone? So Los Angeles Lakers signed Christian Koloko to a two-way center spot. He is still, at least at the time of recording this video, not cleared yet by the NBA. Now, there is the expectation that he will be. Both Koloko as well as the Lakers, who did their own evaluation, both believe that he will be good to go, that he will be cleared sooner rather than later, and he is expected to make an impact right out the gate. Yes, he is on a two-way, but he is expected to get some real minutes this upcoming season. He is expected to kind of play a role, and there's a lot of discussion that chances are the Lakers at some point this season are going to bring him to the main roster, right? Assuming he plays well and he doesn't need like a year of development, right? If he can come in and just kind of be your third big, the idea is that at some point the Lakers are going to pull off some type of trade, and they may end up bringing Christian Koloko in. If they need to kind of fill a roster spot, he's probably the guy that they bring up and that they bring in to the main roster. So with that, with the understanding that Koloko is supposed to actually play minutes and could even, get some backup minutes. Now, he is limited on the games. He can only play like 50, 52 games on the season for the Lakers. So that's something to keep in mind, that if he does remain on a two-way all season long, then he only can play X amount of games. But kind of going through the young anomaly guys, the guys that we don't really know how they're going to perform, kind of going over player comparisons and what I can see and envision them potentially being. And I'm going to give some examples of realistic targets and what I think Christian Koloko will likely be for the Lakers this season, and then kind of like a little bit of a, shooting for the stars type thing. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, Christian Koloko, the type of center he is, right? He is a shot blocking, high energy, floor running big man, right? He's the kind of guy that's he's gonna give you 110% every moment he's out there, but he's a guy that can get from, basket to basket. You can always count on him to be the trailer as a big fella. He's going to sprint down the court on every possession and be, the first big down the court on most nights, which is excellent, right? Gives you some real flexibility. Get out in fast break, get out in transition, right? You can trust that Christian Koloko is going to be sprinting down the court, right? He's not a guy that's just going to be handing back, most of the time. Obviously depends on where he is on the court, but he is a guy that you can count on that's going to clean stuff up. Obviously, look, he's a project. He was a project before the medical issues, right? I don't expect him to come in and be, prime Dwight Howard, where he's giving you 20 and 10 with 5 blocks a game or anything like that. But I do think that he can realistically play a role, play a part. I do think he's a guy that, if given the minutes and opportunity, could be, like an 8-and-8 guy with like a block and a half a game. I don't think that that's unrealistic. I don't think that that's unfathomable, especially with his size, his athleticism, his wingspan, right? Him being a lob threat, your ability to run the pick and roll with him. He doesn't have the size, like the weight behind him that you want for like a Jokic, Embiid, right? Like he doesn't solve the Edie type matchups, right? But he is a guy that still can make a real impact with the Lakers. Now, you could say, before I get into the comparisons, you could say Jackson Hayes as a comparison, right? There are pros and cons for both of them. Christian Koloko is the better shot blocker. He's more disciplined on the defensive side. However, Jackson Hayes, right, he's better not that Koloko hasn't shown the ability in the pick and roll, but Jackson Hayes is better, or has been better, in the pick and roll defense. He wasn't super great last year, but he has a history and track record of it, right? Both guys have shown a little bit of the ability to spread the floor. Not something that you'd really want to count on, right? The Pelicans actually, or when Jackson Hayes was with the Pelicans, actually took a fair amount of threes and shot with good efficiency. Koloko, you've seen in workouts and stuff, actually working and showing his ability to stretch the floor and knock down the three ball, as well as kind of that mid-range, which would be really nice. But I think we'll start with the realistic examples, and then we'll jump into kind of the potential fairy tale one. So the most realistic examples, I think, are both on Dallas. And that is Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively. I think that those are probably the best examples that the Lakers could have for Christian Koloko. I think another guy that comes to mind is like a Nick Richards, right? But the reason I like the Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford is because they showed their impact and how they can affect the Dallas Mavericks in their finals run, right? Obviously, they ended up losing the NBA Finals, but they were able to get there with Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively as your two primary bigs. And both are very similar and have a very similar play style, and both guys are guys that play exactly how Christian Koloko does, right? Christian Koloko, just like Gafford and Derek Lively, are all three guys that run the floor well as big men, that are excellent lob threats. They can run the pick and roll. They can defend a little bit, and they move well laterally, right? They're guys that can block shots and play within the scheme of the offensive actions and defense sets, right? Like, those are the type of things, and that's what you want to see from Christian Koloko. I believe he can play that, again, that Derek Lively type role where, neither of these guys, again, in Lively or Daniel Gafford, are these 7 feet, 260 guys that are just able to bang with the big boys. But they do have more weight than Koloko and Jackson Hayes. That's something to keep in mind. So, it'll be interesting to see if Koloko can he maybe put on a little bit of weight as time goes on. But nonetheless, right, Daniel Gafford, he's 6'10", 234 as far as size goes, or it's what he's listed as, where at least Christian Koloko is a true 7-footer. And then Derek Lively, on the other hand, he is listed as 7'1", 230. So he's a true 7-footer, where, you look at Christian Koloko, he is a guy that is, again, 7 feet, 7'1"-ish, maybe with shoes on. He's a guy that's, 7-foot-ish. But he is around 230 pounds, 225 pounds. So, again, similar weight to, as well as Daniel Gafford, right? He's in that range. But again, he's not 250, 260, to where he's going to be able to really hold his own against a Jokic and stuff like that. He is, I think, perfectly just the comparison of a Derek Lively as well as a Daniel Gafford would be fantastic. Now, let's get into the kind of the unrealistic target, and that is a version. Not saying he will be as good, but a version of Kristaps Porzingis. And what I mean by a version of Kristaps Porzingis is Kristaps Porzingis has shown the ability to stretch the floor. He knocked down the mid-range, absolute butter in the mid-range, as well as stretch, knock down the 3-ball, right? He, again, not really the floor running big that Gafford and them are, but he's not this big, bulky center, right? Kristaps Porzingis isn't this, this, 7, he's 7'2" with the 7'6" wingspan, but he's not 7'2", 260, right? He's 7'2", 240, which, again, kind of is around the Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, Christian Koloko type. But what I mean by a version of Kristaps Porzingis is Christian Koloko in workouts has shown that he can knock down the mid-range, that he can knock down the 3-ball, that he can actually kind of do these little floaters stuff at. Now, it's one thing to do it in an open gym. It's one thing to do it when a guy 5'5" is holding a little stick and trying to distract you. It's another thing when you're actually on the basketball court, right? And you're in the thick of it, right? But best case scenario, in my opinion, is that he can be essentially a poor man's Kristaps Porzingis in his ability to stretch the floor as well as block shots, play defense, run the floor, right? Be versatile, could play the 4, could play the 5 type big man. That's what I'm hopeful. Where a Daniel Gafford and a Derek Lively, they're 4s, or they're 5s. They can't play the 4. You're not sliding Daniel Gafford. Could you run the 2 bigs that time? Sure, if you wanted to, but it's not ideal. It's not optimal, right? You're talking about two guys that are very similar. Where Christian Koloko and Jackson Hayes, same thing, right? Like those two guys, unless one of them can prove that they can stretch the floor, you're not really running those two together very often. It's not optimal because both of them are too similar players. Both of them kind of have the same play style, and neither really stretches the floor. But if Christian Koloko can show the ability to knock down the three, not elite. I don't want Christian Koloko taking 5 threes a game or anything like that, right? Unless he's just like completely lights out, right? He's just like, 43% from three or something like that. I want to see him be primarily what he is, which is a big man and a center down low, right? But if he can show and display the versatility of stretching out and knocking down the three with some regularity, with some consistency, as well as, maybe running some pick and pop action with him and like D'Lo, or Reeves or LeBron or whoever the primary ball handlers are, right? Like, I think that can be, again, kind of a poor man. And got to keep in mind, this is supposed to be the kind of fairy tale version, best case scenario, right? Kind of talked about those in all of the other videos. And I want to be clear, not saying he will be to the level of Kristaps Porzingis, right? Where Kristaps is arguably the best three-point shooting big in the league, versatility, all that. I'm talking about a version of that, right? And there's not many guys that I can compare to that have the size, that have similar builds and stuff, right? Like even Cat, right? Karl Anthony Towns. He doesn't have the same kind of build as a Christian Koloko, right? And Karl Anthony Towns is like 250, 255. Right? I'm trying to think of guys that could show the versatility that Koloko has displayed in workouts, as well as, be able to block shots and be a rim deterrent, as well as kind of have a similar build and size. Kristaps Porzingis is close to that. Obviously, again, Kristaps Porzingis is, all-star level talent, and if Koloko can be anywhere close to that, then the Lakers gotta steal, and the NBA is in trouble. That's the case. But in all seriousness, in all reality, chances are, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, I think, is the true, fair, realistic comparison. Just a big man that can run the floor, right? Give you high energy, keep balls alive, that you can count on, and not try to do too much. Stay within his role, understand his role. Hey, I'm here to just rebound, block shots, catch the lob, and finish strong. If Christian Koloko can do that, he can play that role, then he's going to have success on this Lakers roster. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? What do you think of Christian Koloko? What do you think he'll bring to the Lakers this season? What do you think of the comparisons? Is there anyone else that comes to mind? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.